What if I told you that you didn't arrive at this video by chance? That there exists an invisible force, proven by quantum physics, that brought you here at this specific moment of your life. Science calls this quantum synchronicity, and 99% of people ignore these signals every day, missing the most transformative opportunities of their existence. You're about to discover why your rational mind lies to you about coincidences, and how to recognize when the universe is literally conspiring in your favor. But before we begin, I need you to understand something fundamental. If you arrived at this video at this exact moment, it wasn't an accident. It was because you're ready for a truth that will completely change how you interpret the events of your life. This isn't another video about superficial law of attraction. This is a deep dive into the science of synchronicity, based on decades of rigorous scientific research and ancient wisdom that's finally being validated by modern physics. When you finish watching, you'll never look at a coincidence the same way again. More importantly, you'll have practical, scientifically proven tools to start creating synchronicities intentionally in your life. Now, before revealing this secret, I want you to do something. Pause this video and look around you. Notice where you are, what time it is, what you were doing before clicking on this video. Notice even the device you're using to watch, the circumstances that led you to have time available exactly now, the emotional state you were in when you decided to click. Memorize this moment in detail, because when we reach the end, you'll understand exactly why the universe conspired for you to be here, now, receiving this specific information. Back? Perfect. Let's begin with a question that will shake everything you believe about chance, destiny, and the nature of reality itself. Why do some people live lives filled with magical synchronicities, where everything seems to fit together perfectly, like pieces of a cosmic puzzle, while others spend entire decades waiting for a single clear sign from the universe? Why do doors open at the exact moment for some people? The right people appear at the right time with the right information. Opportunities arise as if magnetized by them, while others live in constant struggle against circumstances, always rowing against life's current. The answer isn't luck, as our conditioned mind would like to believe. It's not predetermined destiny, as some fatalistic philosophies suggest. And it definitely isn't the idea that some people are more special, more blessed, or more favored by the universe than others. That's an illusion that keeps most people trapped in victim mentality. The real answer lies in a quantum physics discovery that most people don't know about. A discovery so revolutionary and disturbing to our worldview that it completely changed our understanding of the fundamental nature of reality. A discovery that was so controversial that Einstein himself, the greatest scientific genius of the 20th century, called it spooky action at a distance, and spent his last 20 years trying to disprove it, unsuccessfully. In 1935, Albert Einstein, along with his colleagues Boris Podolsky and Nathan Rosen, published a scientific paper describing a phenomenon that challenged everything classical science believed possible in the universe. They discovered that two subatomic particles, once connected or entangled, remain eternally linked in a mysterious dance, no matter the physical distance separating them in space-time. When you affect one of these entangled particles, measuring its property or altering its state, the other particle responds instantly, even if it's literally on the other side of the known universe, separated by billions of light years. Not in a few seconds, not in a few milliseconds, but instantaneously, at a speed that transcends any known physical limit. Einstein deeply hated this discovery because it directly violated his special theory of relativity, which established as fundamental law that nothing in the universe can travel faster than the speed of light. How could two particles communicate instantly across impossible cosmic distances? This contradicted everything Newtonian and Einsteinian physics taught about cause and effect, about time and space, about the local nature of reality. Einstein was convinced there were hidden variables that science hadn't yet discovered, local mechanisms that would explain this apparent instantaneous communication without violating the laws of relativity. He spent the last 2 decades of his life obsessively trying to prove that this phenomenon, which we now call quantum entanglement or quantum non-locality, couldn't exist as the experiments suggested. But Einstein was wrong, profoundly, fundamentally wrong about this aspect of reality. And not only was he wrong, but this discovery he rejected became one of the most important and practical in modern physics. Today, quantum entanglement is the technological foundation of revolutionary innovations like quantum computing, unbreakable quantum cryptography, ultra-precise quantum sensors, and even the first successful experiments in information teleportation. In 2022, physicists Alain Aspect from France, John Clauser from the United States, and Anton Zeilinger from Austria won the Nobel Prize in Physics specifically for their meticulous and definitive experiments that proved beyond any scientific doubt that Einstein was wrong about this fundamental question of reality. Here's what scientists discovered after these Nobel Prize-winning experiments and what will transform your life forever. You're not simply a passive, casual observer of this physical reality. You are a dynamic field of consciousness, quantumly entangled with all other fields of consciousness that exist in the universe. Your focused attention, your intense emotions, your intention-charged thoughts create measurable ripples in the quantum field that propagate instantly through the fundamental fabric of reality. Dr. Joe Dispenza, neuroscientist and researcher at the HeartMath Institute, has spent more than 2 decades studying this phenomenon with state-of-the-art scientific instruments. Using advanced electromagnetic measuring devices, he has documented that people in elevated emotional states generate highly organized electromagnetic fields that extend up to 12 feet beyond their physical bodies. But here's the revolutionary part that changes everything. These coherent fields don't just affect the person generating them. They actually transform the energy of everyone and everything that enters that field, automatically elevating consciousness and improving emotional states without any conscious effort from the field generator. People with activated quantum synchronicity fields become what Dr. Dispenza calls energy transformers rather than energy receivers. Instead of being affected by external circumstances, they transform whatever circumstances they encounter, converting lower frequencies into higher frequencies of love, wisdom, and creative power. This explains why certain people seem to make everyone around them feel better simply by being present. They're not trying to help or heal anyone. Their coherent energy field is automatically transforming whatever frequencies come into contact with it. This leads us to what will really explode your understanding and transform your relationship with reality. The quantum observer principle applied to the totality of your life experience. In quantum physics, one of the most fundamental and disturbing discoveries is that a subatomic particle exists simultaneously in all possible states, in a condition that scientists technically call quantum superposition. Imagine a coin spinning in the air. While it spins, it's neither heads nor tails, but both possibilities existing simultaneously. On the quantum scale, a particle can literally be in multiple places at the same time, can have multiple energy values simultaneously, can exist in apparently contradictory states, all at the same time. But the exact moment a conscious observer focuses their attention on this particle to measure it, all this superposition of possibilities instantly collapses into a single specific and defined reality. The most famous experiment demonstrating this seemingly impossible phenomenon is the double-slit experiment, first performed by physicist Thomas Young in 1809, but which continues to surprise and confuse scientists to this day. When you fire individual electrons through two parallel slits in a wall, they behave like energy waves, passing simultaneously through both slits at the same time and creating a complex interference pattern on the detector screen on the other side. But here's the part that completely defies our intuition about how reality should work. The exact moment you place a detector to observe and record which of the two slits each individual electron is passing through, they instantly stop behaving like waves and start acting like solid particles, passing through only one slit at a time, as our everyday logic would expect. The simple presence of a conscious observer, the mere intention to measure and know, fundamentally changes the behavior of matter at the most basic level of reality. And if this is true at the subatomic level, which literally constitutes all the physical matter in the universe, including your own body, what does this mean for your life and experiences at the macroscopic level of daily existence? Now, transpose this revolutionary principle to the totality of your personal existence. All the infinite possibilities of your life, all the potential futures you could experience, exist simultaneously in quantum superposition in the field of pure possibilities. Your ideal new career, your perfect loving relationship, your radiant health, your financial abundance, your deep spiritual realization, your unique contribution to the world, all of this already exists as real quantum potential in a dimension of infinite possibilities. The only variable that determines which of these parallel realities will collapse and manifest in your three-dimensional physical experience is exactly where you place your conscious attention, consistently sustained with the appropriate emotion that corresponds to that desired reality. But here lies the fundamental problem that 99% of people face every day, and the main reason why they cannot access these magical synchronicities that would completely transform their lives. They unconsciously place their predominant attention on what they don't want to experience, on what's missing in their current lives, on the problems that worry them, on the difficulties that frustrate them, on the fears that paralyze them. And the universe, impeccably and mathematically obeying the fundamental quantum laws, delivers precisely that to their experiences. They are constantly, involuntarily, collapsing the quantum realities they least want to live, because that's where their attention habitually dwells most of the time. Let me give you a practical and concrete example that will make all this abstract theory make sense in a way you'll never forget, and that you can apply immediately in your life. Imagine you're driving your car to an extremely important meeting, and suddenly the anxious thought arises in your mind. I can't be late today. This meeting could define my entire career. Your conscious and well-intentioned mind thinks it's focusing on the solution, thinks it's being responsible and proactive. But from the quantum physics perspective, you just placed your attention charged with anxious emotion directly on the vibrational frequency of lateness, rush, worry, fear of failure. You inadvertently collapsed a quantum timeline where there exists a real and increased possibility of being late. And then, as if by black magic, what invariably happens? A seemingly impossible sequence of obstacles emerges from nowhere. Traffic lights that turn red the exact moment you approach. Inexplicably congested traffic on a route that's normally clear. An accident blocking the road. Road construction that wasn't there yesterday. endless line in the parking lot, broken elevator in the building. Your linear mind interprets this as bad luck, as cruel coincidence, as evidence that these things always happen to me. But the truth is much more powerful and transformative. It's not luck. It's not random coincidence. It's quantum physics in perfect action. Your anxious consciousness focused on fear created specific ripples in the quantum field that magnetized and attracted precisely the circumstances you most feared. Now imagine the alternative scenario. You're driving to the same important meeting, but instead of the anxious thought, this arises in your mind. I always arrive at the divine, perfect moment. The universe constantly conspires so that I am exactly where I need to be, when I need to be, in ideal conditions for my highest success. In that transformative moment, you consciously collapsed a completely different quantum timeline. Your attention is vibrating on the frequency of synchronicity, divine flow, absolute trust, collaborative partnership with universal intelligence. And then, as if reality itself were liquid and responsive to your thoughts, what happens? A seemingly miraculous series of synchronicities unfolds. Traffic lights that turn green exactly when you approach. Traffic that flows like water. Maybe even an alternative route that you'd never considered that emerges in your consciousness intuitively and takes you faster than the usual path. You find the perfect parking spot right in front of the building. The elevator is waiting open. You arrive not just on time, but in a state of calm and confidence that positively impresses everyone in the meeting. This isn't supernatural magic. It's not inexplicable luck. It's quantum physics consciously applied through mastery of your focused attention. It's the creative power of human consciousness, functioning in harmonious partnership with the fundamental laws that govern reality. Dr. Greg Braden, scientist and researcher who has spent decades studying the interface between ancient wisdom and modern science, made an even more remarkable discovery. He studied ancient sacred texts of the Essenes, a highly advanced spiritual community that existed more than 2,000 years ago in the caves of the Judean desert. These manuscripts, accidentally discovered by Bedouin shepherds in Qumran in 1947, contain precise knowledge about how to access what they called the time of miracle, the hour of possibility, or the moment of conscious creation. Most impressively, these millennial descriptions are practically identical to what modern quantum physics discovered about wave function collapse, about the role of the conscious observer in determining reality, about the non-local nature of consciousness. The Essenes understood, 2,000 years before the invention of the first quantum computer, that there are specific and identifiable moments where the veil between the world of infinite possibilities and the world of physical manifestation becomes significantly thinner and more permeable. They called these moments quantum windows or creation portals, and developed elaborate and precise techniques to recognize when these windows were opening, how to consciously position themselves to take advantage of them, and how to actively collaborate with these opportunities to manifest profound and seemingly miraculous changes in their lives and in the lives of their communities. The Essene manuscripts, many of which are still being translated and interpreted by specialized archaeologists and linguists, contain detailed and practical instructions on how to intentionally create what they called the sacred field of possibility. These instructions include specific breathing techniques that alter brainwaves to coherent states, body postures that optimize the personal electromagnetic field, visualizations that activate specific brain regions, and states of consciousness they called the sacred marriage of heaven and earth. But here's the revelation that will completely transform your understanding of your own personal power. These quantum windows don't happen randomly as cosmic events outside your control. They are created, opened, and activated by your own elevated frequency of consciousness. When you consciously elevate your emotional vibration to the state the Essenes called coherent heart or unified mind, you literally open these dimensional windows and invite the most extraordinary synchronicities to flow naturally into your life experience. The HeartMath Institute, founded in 1991 by Doc Childra in California, is today the world's most advanced research center in the scientific study of heart coherence and its measurable effects on physical reality. For more than 3 decades, using precision scientific instruments, high-definition electrocardiographs, ultra-sensitive magnetometers, and magnetic field spectrometers, they have studied tens of thousands of people and made discoveries that are revolutionizing our understanding of the apparent limits between individual consciousness and collective reality. They discovered that there is a specific neurological and physiological state where your personal electromagnetic field enters perfect harmonic synchronization with Earth's own electromagnetic field. Our planet has its own natural vibrational frequency, called the Schumann resonance, which oscillates predominantly at approximately 7.83 Hz, with harmonics at 14, 20, 26, and 33 Hz. When your physical heart and nervous system consciously enter coherence with this fundamental planetary frequency, through specific techniques that science has now validated, something truly extraordinary and scientifically documented happens. You enter what HeartMath researchers call global coherence, a state where you are literally synchronized with Earth's own electromagnetic pulse. It is in this precise state of global coherence that the most powerful, transformative, and seemingly impossible synchronicities occur consistently. It's as if you had tuned your individual consciousness to the exact frequency where universal intelligence operates, where quantum laws become more fluid and responsive, where the boundary between thought and physical manifestation becomes almost imperceptible. Dr. Roland McCready, HeartMath Institute's research director and author of more than 300 scientific studies peer-reviewed and published in international academic journals, has precisely documented what happens in your body, your mind, and the reality around you when you enter this state of sustained heart coherence. First, your heart rate variability, which is the natural variation in intervals between your heartbeats, enters a coherent, harmonic, and mathematically ordered pattern, dramatically optimizing bidirectional communication between your physical heart and your brain. Your heart sends more information to your brain than your brain sends to your heart. And when this communication is in coherence, your intuition expands exponentially. Second, your autonomic nervous system perfectly balances, with dramatic reduction in sympathetic stress activation and significant increase in parasympathetic restoration and healing activation. This results in crystal-clear mental clarity, increased creativity, and direct access to what neuroscientists call the flow state, or optimal performance zone. Third, your hormonal system naturally rebalances, with significant reduction of cortisol, the chronic stress hormone that sabotages manifestation, and dramatic increase of DHEA, the youth, vitality, and longevity hormone that is directly correlated with ability to create positive life changes. But the fourth effect is the most impressive and relevant to our discussion about synchronicities. Your personal electromagnetic field significantly expands and begins to influence the physical environment around you in measurable and reproducible ways. HeartMath researchers discovered that people in heart coherence can affect other people's heart rhythm in a room, alter the molecular structure of distilled water, influence plant growth, and even affect electronic random number generators placed at distances of several meters. This means that when you are consciously in this state of coherence, you are not just passively receiving benevolent synchronicities from the universe. You are actively creating the energetic and vibrational conditions for them to happen, influencing and organizing physical reality around you through your own expanded and coherent field of consciousness. Now, you certainly must be thinking, this science is absolutely fascinating and revolutionary, but how exactly do I do this in practice? How do I achieve this state of heart coherence consistently? How do I apply these quantum principles to create real synchronicities in my daily life? And this is precisely the million-dollar question, because knowing the world's most advanced theory transforms absolutely nothing if you don't have practical methodology to apply it. What will really transform your life is mastering the consistent application of this science through specific, measurable, and repeatable techniques that you can use immediately, today, to start creating synchronicities intentionally. But first, you need to understand something absolutely fundamental about how your mind really works, because most people are trying to apply these techniques with a completely wrong understanding of who is really in control of their life experiences. Your conscious mind, that incessant chattering voice that keeps commenting, analyzing, and judging everything that happens in your life every moment, is not who is really determining your experiences, your decisions, your emotional reactions, or your habitual behaviors. According to revolutionary research by Dr. Bruce Lipton, a cell biologist who taught at Stanford University School of Medicine, 95% of your decisions, reactions, behaviors, and life patterns are automatically controlled by your subconscious. Only 5% of your life experience is created by your thinking conscious mind. 95% is determined by subconscious programs that were installed and deeply recorded in your nervous system, mainly during the first 7 years of your life, when you hadn't yet developed beta brainwaves that allow critical thinking, logical analysis, and conscious filtering of information. And here's the devastating problem most people don't realize. Your subconscious was programmed by the first 7 years of your life, when you were still a child without capacity to question, filter, or consciously choose which information to accept as truth about reality, about yourself, about what's possible in life. From 0 to 2 years old, you were predominantly in delta brainwaves, the same brainwave state as deep sleep. From 2 to 6 years old, you were predominantly in alpha and theta waves, which are highly suggestible hypnotic states, identical to states used by professional hypnotists to implant deep suggestions in the subconscious. In this crucial phase of neurological formation, you unconditionally absorbed, without any critical filter, all the beliefs, fears, limitations, emotional patterns, and behavior programs of your family and social environment. You internalized your parents' beliefs about money, relationships, success, spirituality, and life possibilities. You absorbed the fears, traumas, and emotional limitations of your family lineage. You incorporated the behavior patterns you observed, even when these patterns were dysfunctional or destructive. This means you're trying to create the conscious life of a fulfilled adult using the mental and emotional software of a 5-year-old child. It's literally like trying to run an advanced artificial intelligence program on an 80s computer. The hardware simply doesn't have the capacity to process what you're trying to create. This is why so many people feel frustrated, stuck, unconsciously sabotaging their own successes, repeating the same destructive patterns decade after decade, even when they consciously, desperately want to create something completely different in their lives. But here's the extraordinarily hopeful news that will change everything. Neuroplasticity, which is the inherent capacity of the human brain to create new neural connections, form new thought patterns, and literally reorganize structurally, has no age limit. No matter how old you are, no matter how long you've had the same patterns, no matter how ingrained your limitations seem to be. Dr. Norman Doidge, a Canadian psychiatrist and neurological researcher, author of the revolutionary book The Brain That Changes Itself, demonstrated through decades of research and documented clinical cases that you can literally completely reprogram your subconscious at any moment in life, at any age, creating new neural circuits that completely replace old and limiting patterns. And when you do this subconscious reprogramming, consciously aligned with the quantum physics principles we're exploring, when you combine intentional neuroplasticity with sustained heart coherence, the results are not just additive, they are exponential and often appear as seemingly miraculous life changes. The fundamental key is understanding that your subconscious doesn't distinguish between a physically real experience and a vividly imagined experience that is accompanied by the appropriate corresponding emotion. If you can mentally create a desired future experience and feel it emotionally as if it were real and present, your brain will form exactly the same neural connections as if that experience had actually happened in physical reality. This is self-directed neuroplasticity. This is conscious-subconscious reprogramming. This is intentionally using your brain's natural capacity to reorganize itself to create new life possibilities that are aligned with your conscious desires, instead of just automatically repeating programs from the past. The first step in this process is what quantum physicists call quantum cleansing, which is systematically identifying and deactivating the specific, subconscious patterns that are constantly collapsing quantum realities you don't want to experience. These limiting patterns generally manifest as unconscious beliefs about what's possible for you, deeply buried emotional fears, or energetic traumas that got stuck in your bioelectric field. For example, if you grew up in a family where there was constant worry and anxiety about money, where you repeatedly heard limiting phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees," "You have to work hard and suffer to get anything in life," "We're not a rich family," or "Spiritual people don't worry about money," these subconscious programming are constantly, automatically, collapsing realities of scarcity, difficulty, and financial struggle, regardless of what you do consciously. Even if today you have studied extensively about prosperity, even if you rationally understand that money is simply energy in motion and that there is infinite abundance available in the universe, even if you practice positive affirmations and abundance visualizations daily, your subconscious continues silently operating from these scarcity programs installed in childhood. And since the subconscious is 95% more powerful than the conscious mind, it always wins this internal battle between conscious desire and subconscious programming. The most powerful and effective technique for doing this quantum cleansing is what advanced practitioners call conscious observer breathing. It's a methodology that combines specific breathing patterns that alter your brainwaves with directed quantum visualization, allowing direct access to subconscious programs to identify them, deactivate them, and replace them with new programs aligned with your conscious intentions. But before teaching you this transformative technique, I need you to understand something absolutely fundamental about how time really works in quantum reality, because this will completely change your ability to manifest rapid and seemingly impossible changes in your life. Sequential linear time is a convincing illusion of the conditioned conscious mind. Einstein proved this mathematically with his general theory of relativity, demonstrating that past, present, and future exist simultaneously in a unified structure he called the space-time block. From the perspective of the most advanced quantum physics, specifically the many-worlds interpretation developed by physicist Hugh Everett, all possible versions of your life, all potential timelines you could experience, exist simultaneously in parallel dimensions, and your consciousness is the determining factor that chooses which timeline you experience moment to moment. This means something revolutionary for your personal transformation capacity. You can literally alter your past by changing your present perception and interpretation of events that already happened. I'm not talking fantastically about physically traveling through time, but about consciously collapsing a different, more empowered version of your personal history. A version where difficult events transform into catalysts of growth and wisdom, where traumas reveal themselves as spiritual initiations, where apparent failures show themselves as divine redirections to something infinitely better. Dr. Bruce Lipton demonstrated in the laboratory, through meticulously controlled experiments, that when you fundamentally alter your perception of a past traumatic event, your DNA responds instantly, literally altering your genetic expression, activating healing genes and deactivating inflammation and disease genes. This is what he calls behavioral epigenetics, and it represents one of the most powerful tools for physical, emotional, and spiritual transformation that modern science has discovered. Your genes are not your immutable destiny, as conventional medicine teaches. They are simply dormant potentials that are activated or deactivated depending on your perceptions, beliefs, emotions, and interpretations about your life experience. When you consciously resignify past traumatic events, transforming them from bad things that happened to me to sacred experiences that strengthened me, you don't just heal emotionally, you literally alter your biology, allowing positive, dormant genetic potentials to express themselves. Now I'll teach you the integrated sequence of practical techniques that will connect all these scientific concepts in an applicable and transformative way. The technique is called quantum anchoring of the present moment. And when you completely master this practice, you'll begin to perceive synchronicities happening in your life with a frequency and precision that will surprise even your most entrenched skepticism. Find an environment where you can sit comfortably for at least 20 minutes without being interrupted by other people, phones, notifications, or external distractions. Completely turn off all electronic devices because their electromagnetic fields can interfere with the coherence of your own bioelectric field. Sit with your spine erect but relaxed, allowing energy to flow freely through your central nervous system. Begin breathing consciously and intentionally, but without forcing or artificially controlling. Inhale slowly and deeply through your nose, allowing fresh air to first fill your abdomen, gently expanding your belly, then filling your chest, and finally the upper region of your lungs near your collarbones. Hold gently for 2 or 3 seconds, then exhale slowly and completely through your mouth, first emptying the upper region of your lungs, then your chest, and finally gently contracting your abdomen to completely expel the used air. Continue this breathing pattern for at least 5 minutes, until you feel that your autonomic nervous system has begun to calm down. Your chattering mind has significantly decreased in volume, and you can feel a quality of presence and stillness settling in your body. While maintaining this conscious breathing pattern, bring to your mind with crystal clarity the exact moment you decided to watch this video. Relive this decision mentally with specific sensory details. Where were you physically? What time was it? What were you feeling emotionally? What was happening in your life that created openness to receive this information? But now, instead of seeing this decision as casual or random, consciously recognize it as an act of sacred co-creation with universal intelligence. You didn't simply find this video through algorithms or coincidence. Cosmic intelligence conspired through thousands of synchronized variables for you to arrive at this specific information at this specific moment of your evolution. Because there's something your soul needs to know, integrate, and apply to take the next step in your growth journey. Expand this perception of intelligent design to the last 7 days of your life. Observe mentally, as if it were a movie in ultra-slow motion. How many small, seemingly insignificant decisions, casual events, unexpected conversations, and apparently random circumstances aligned perfectly to create the exact conditions that led you to this moment of discovery. Maybe it was a specific conversation that planted a seed of curiosity. Maybe a challenging situation that made you question if there's a different way to navigate life. Maybe a dream, an intuition, or an inexplicable feeling that something was about to change in your reality. Recognize that each of these elements was an essential piece of a quantum symphony orchestrated by your higher consciousness to prepare you for this transformation. Expand even more to the entire last month of your life. See the larger patterns that unfolded to create the perfect conditions for this moment of awakening. Maybe it was a relationship that ended, creating internal space for new learnings. Maybe a professional challenge that forced you to question your true purpose. Maybe a crisis that demolished old structures to open space for something completely new to be built. Recognize with deep gratitude that nothing, absolutely nothing, was random, casual, or purposeless. Every experience, especially the most challenging ones, was carefully orchestrated by your higher wisdom to prepare you for this moment of awakening and for the transformations that are coming. In this expanded state of recognition and gratitude, tune emotionally into the deep feeling of gratitude for this higher intelligence that is always, constantly, working tirelessly in your favor, even when your small mind can't see or understand the complete picture. Feel this feeling of gratitude not just as a mental idea, but as a real physical emotion in your heart. Allow this gratitude to expand like a golden wave of energetic warmth throughout your entire body, starting in the center of your chest and radiating to your arms, your legs, your head, until it completely fills your bioelectric field. This is precisely the state of heart coherence that the HeartMath Institute identified as the master key to opening portals of synchronicity. In this coherent state, formulate a specific and clear question for universal intelligence. It can be about any area of your life where you need clarity, direction, or creative solutions. Relationships, career, health, spiritual purpose, financial situation, important decisions you need to make, conflicts you need to resolve. Formulate the question specifically, positively, and solution-oriented. Instead of, "Why is my life so difficult?" ask, "What is the next highest step for me to create greater flow and joy in my life?" Instead of, "Why do I never find the right person?" ask, "How can I align with the love that is perfect for me?" After clearly formulating the question, mentally deliver it to the quantum field, visualizing your question being absorbed by universal intelligence like a seed planted in infinitely fertile soil. Then practice the spiritual art of intelligent surrender, completely releasing the need to control how, when, or through what the answer will come. Before ending this practice and opening your eyes, dedicate several minutes to emotionally experiencing what it would be like to constantly live in this state of absolute trust, conscious connection, and collaborative partnership with universal intelligence. Imagine what it would be like to wake up every day knowing with certainty that you're being guided, that every experience is contributing perfectly to your evolution, that the universe is constantly conspiring to deliver everything that serves your highest good. When you practice this quantum anchoring technique consistently, not just once or twice as an experiment, but as a daily disciplined practice for at least 21 consecutive days to create new neural circuits, you'll begin to notice profound changes in the quality and frequency of synchronicities in your life. Right people appearing at the perfect moment with information, opportunities, or resources you need. Creative solutions to complex problems arising in your consciousness, seemingly from nowhere. Financial, professional, or relational opportunities presenting themselves in unexpected ways. Material resources arriving exactly when you need them most. Inspirations, ideas, and insights emerging at the ideal moment for your situation. But here's something absolutely crucial that most people don't understand about synchronicities, and that determines whether you'll interpret them correctly or completely waste their transformative power. The most powerful and significant synchronicities often don't arrive in the form of obviously positive events that your conditioned mind would expect. Sometimes, the answer to your questions comes through what apparently is a door closing, a relationship ending, an opportunity being denied, a plan not working as expected. Your linear mind, conditioned to interpret these experiences as problems, obstacles, or failures, can completely miss the divine guidance being offered. The universe often needs to remove certain people, situations, or opportunities from your life to create energetic and practical space for something infinitely better, more aligned, and more elevated that is trying to enter your experience. Sometimes, a door that closes painfully is the most loving and protective redirection you could receive. The secret to navigating these apparently negative synchronicities is developing what quantum consciousness researchers call quantum vision, which is the ability to see every event in your life, especially the apparently challenging or unwanted ones, as part of a larger intelligent pattern that is unfolding perfectly for your growth, evolution, and ultimate well-being. When you develop this multidimensional perspective, even the most difficult challenges reveal themselves as disguised synchronicities, as carefully disguised growth opportunities, as divine redirections to higher paths that your small mind would never have considered. For example, you lose a job you thought was perfect for you, that represented security and stability. Your linear mind sees this as a financial catastrophe, as an injustice, as evidence that life is unpredictable and dangerous. But your developed quantum consciousness recognizes that maybe the universe is freeing you from a situation that was limiting your true potential, keeping you in a comfort zone that prevented your growth, creating space for a much larger professional opportunity more aligned with your purpose that is coming. But that could only manifest if you were available for it. The fundamental key to navigating synchronicities of this nature is to trust deeply in the process of higher intelligence, even when your rational mind can't understand the logic of what's happening. The universe operates in wisdom that completely transcends our linear understanding, and often what seems like a painful detour or frustrating obstacle is actually the most direct and loving path to where you need to be. But this requires what ancient masters called intelligent surrender. Not defeatist passivity or giving up on your dreams and ambitions, but taking inspired and consistent actions toward your highest objectives while remaining completely open and flexible for the universe to orchestrate the details, timing, and methodology in ways you could never plan, imagine, or control. Neville Goddard, one of the most profound manifestation teachers of the 20th century, who profoundly influenced thinkers like Joseph Murphy, Wayne Dyer, and Rhonda Byrne, taught that the true secret of conscious creation is not forcing reality to bend to your limited personal will, but discovering and aligning your personal will with the natural flow of cosmic creation, with what he called the will of God, or the divine plan. When you can make that subtle but profound alignment, you no longer need to exhaustively fight against life, push against closed doors, or force results.